There are some consoles that really wow us when we first hear of their existence, and boy oh boy, the Sega Dreamcast was just one example. The Sega Dreamcast was Sega's final console and they really did make it memorable. Advanced 3D graphics for the time, VGA support, and of course internet support, which was new to a console for the time, especially because it was built in. The controller was also interesting with this little LCD memory unit which I love seeing during gameplay. This particular Dreamcast has been modified so that I'm able to play any Dreamcast game from any region. Although PAL games aren't super expensive most of the time, the Japanese market is still my choice for most games that I'm actually interested in. One game in particular had me really wanting to try it for quite some time: Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Third Strike was the third refresh of Street Fighter 3, and although I do own W Impact for the Dreamcast, which includes Second Impact and the original Street Fighter 3, Third Strike was the one I wanted so badly. Now, let's see if the £30 I paid for this game was worthwhile or not. When the game starts, we get this. One of the most energy-filled intros ever. The song, the graphics are all over the top and I love it. This reminds me that I'm playing an arcade game and it's nice to see a game embrace that. The menu music stopped me in my tracks because, well, listen to it. If a rap song can stop me from progressing any further, you did well. More on the soundtrack later. Then, once we start picking the characters, it's pretty clear that the roster has expanded greatly. There's a good selection of new and old characters here, hence the slogan of the original Street Fighter 3. You can then choose different arts, which are basically your special moves that can be activated and can produce alternative attacks or even heal you during battle. Anyway, let's move on because none of this makes sense being confined to a menu screen. Oh, and you can pick who you fight during each round, which I love. It helps me keep interest since I don't need to fight the same person if I keep losing. So, the gameplay. It's basically what you'd think Street Fighter is all about. It's a 2D fighting game that uses all of the Dreamcast's buttons to good effect. You have your basic light, medium and strong punches and kicks, blocking, throws or grabs and jump attacks. You can even do reversals and, if you input the right button combinations, pull off more powerful and devastating attacks. Grabs for certain characters can be multiplied, and yes, you can pull off mid-air grabs just for good measure. As mentioned before, you have these special arts that you can pull off during battle. At the bottom of the screen, a special meter builds up as you fight. A maximum of 3 can be stored at once. By performing an art attack, your character glows, and then if contact is successful, the move will do a lot of damage. But not all arts are equal and everyone has different abilities. Some arts will heal your character, some will increase attack power, some will require contact to be successful, while others will work regardless of whether contact occurred or not. Basically, the game encourages you to try out different arts to see which one works to your fighting style. Of course, being an aggressive fighter myself, I always made sure to pick an art that allowed me to keep my foes at bay. I also forgot to mention, if you take too much damage too frequently, you will be stunned and open to attack. Believe me, this happens a lot later on since your foes go from a piece of piss to, oh my god, why? Later on, there are 2 bonus rounds to go through. The first one sees you beating up an SUV, which I found really funny. It's just cool to see how much destruction the car can go through, and it's just satisfying to see the vehicle fall apart as you pound it. Yeah, take that, you piece of metal. The second round, well, you are supposed to defend yourself from killer basketballs, but I never got a single point no matter what I tried to do. I didn't like this round very much, so I didn't care to figure things out. In this game, you fight 10 stages until you get to a guy named Gil. He's the final boss and he can suck my donuts! He's as cheap as they come. He will always use long range attacks, freeze you in place, and destroy you! What is this? Street Fighter 3 or Mortal Kombat? Point is, this guy really was too much for me. Even when I finally beat him, but what? How is that fair? I could barely beat him normally! This guy is a word beginning with B, ends in D, and it's not Dad. One day, I'll get him though. Just you wait, baby. But we're not done just yet. Now, let's talk about if this game is worth a damn, and why. First off, the controls are so responsive. Everything is fast, fluid, and weighty. Nothing was out of place, and each move at my disposal was easily pulled off. Aside from the arts attacks, as the Dreamcast D-pad didn't help. It's just too stiff and hardly moves enough that I always failed to pull off the moves. My hands also started to hurt where the triggers are, since the space for my fingers was narrow. Yep, taking a break is required. Also notice, there's no speed adjustments, meaning no turbo modes. The game is so fast paced, a turbo mode would just break the game. So, the game is quick and easy to control. We must also mention that every single character performs differently. Pick the one that suits your fighting style the best. Chun-Li is my favourite Street Fighter character, and I managed to do the best with her. Chun-Li's quick speed and agile nature meant I could jump out of trouble and then counterattack with my idea of punishment. In other words, using lower sweeping attacks, the occasional strong punch, and then my arts move to reduce my opponent's health if I needed to. Now we need to talk about the rest of the game. The graphics are, without doubt, fantastic and just a sight to behold. Yes, bearing in mind this is using RGB on my OSSC and not VGA. If I did have VGA, oh my god. Even with RGB, the game is just incredible. The animations on the characters are just really amazing. It all looks fluid and done with care. I just love watching these fighters interact with each other, and it's fun to see how they react to each hit. Character detail is the best I've seen for a Street Fighter game released at this time, and the Dreamcast really proves its worth here. It's not just a 3D monster, it's perfect for 2D content too. The colours just pop off the screen. Look at it! The bright, vibrant colours are simply perfect. I cannot think of too many games that really put their colours to good use while making the game look appealing. I can see why people certainly took notice of this game in its arcade days. If I was at the arcade and saw this, you bet your life I'd run over to play it. I cannot stress enough how much joy I had just admiring the way the game had no problems making everything as colourful as possible. Simply beautiful. The backgrounds are also amazing as well. With both 2D and 3D elements included, some of it is actually destructible, and as you fight, the ground will shake and make objects shake too. It's a minor element, sure, but it's a nice touch, and details like this reminds me that I'm playing a next-gen game. Also, look at that sunset. It's incredible. Of course, games like this wouldn't be complete without a good soundtrack to listen to. Actually no, the soundtrack isn't good, it's fantastic. Why doesn't anyone talk about it? It's amazing. The drum and bass influenced soundtrack here normally wouldn't be my cup of tea, and yet, Capcom made it work so well. The music is full of energy, personality, and has some of the best beats you'll ever hear. I feel like I'm in the arcades all over again. It's a joy to listen to every song that plays, and a nice touch here is that every round has a different section of the music, so that as you play you hear more and more of the song. I thought that was a great way to keep the music fresh sounding for longer. I think this is my favourite Street Fighter music. Yes, even more so than the EX series or the Alpha series. I've already put the songs on my iPod for good measure. Listening to these tracks in the car always puts me in a good mood before work begins. It makes me ready to kick butt when I arrive for duty. If it's not obvious already, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is simply awesome. I've always wanted to play and own this game, and thank God I finally managed to achieve this. I love playing this game, and you should try it out if you haven't already. Oh, before I forget, you can also get this on the PS2 if you so desire, if you can't get the Dreamcast version obviously.
Weak.
Alright, that was Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. This game had me thrilled from the very beginning, and although the boss at the end was cheap as hell, this never stopped me from wanting to play it some more. Simply put, this game is very underrated, and to those people who said the game sucks, you are not telling the truth. Sadly folks, Season 4 has finally come to an end here. I've enjoyed putting out weekly content for you all, and it's been great to hear all of your thoughts as time has gone on. It's been a great year for me on YouTube, and all of your support has been greatly appreciated. I do plan on informing you all of what's to come next, so please stay tuned for the upcoming updates I plan to announce. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts on Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and until my next video, I will see you soon.